I added touch controls to run Diggy run, and I'll show how I succeeded and also failed. Before I start, I would like to mention that I was also doing this for the 1.1 update because I needed to fix a crucial bug and was going to include touch controls on top of that update. Anyways, let's get into it. Since my game is pretty simple, I decided to use buttons for my touch controls, and I started by making some inside of Sprite. I made some movement controls, a toggle, and restart button, and that was just about it. Although not ideal, I decided that for attacking, there would be 3 buttons representing which direction you attacked in. This is because I didn't want to make 4 movement direction buttons because it would be more difficult to use them and more work, but I'm still kind of unsure whether that was the best decision. Initially, I wanted my touch controls to be contained inside of the same project so that I wouldn't have to create a separate branch for it, but I soon decided that it would be easier to just duplicate the existing project, even if it meant having 2 branches for normal and mobile builds. The first thing I started doing is cutting down my project. I didn't need settings and could easily display the deaths amount on the title screen. But when I initially started removing stuff, my entire project broke and I had no idea why. However, it just turns out that I was copy pasting and deleting stuff the wrong way, and after starting fresh, which was fine since it was almost no work done, I trimmed down the project and made a couple changes to the intro and finally started working on the actual controls. For the movement buttons, such as left and right, basically I got the touchscreen button node and checked if it is pressed, and if so, it functions like left and right controls, so pretty simple. For pretty much every other button, since they were based on the just pressed condition, a condition to check if the button is pressed wouldn't be ideal. So I decided to use the release signal from the touchscreen button nodes to do these. In retrospect, it probably would have been better to just use the same signal and add a boolean to make it feel more instant than having the player release the button, but it is what it is. And that was it. Just configure the export for Android and should be good to go, right? Well, turns out not. And this actually stems back to an issue I had when exporting my game for initial release. On Windows, everything works as expected. Then on macOS, definitely more annoying to set up and distribute, but still possible. And on export, my game is unplayable because the first world and player don't load after the intro. What could be the case? Certain things are working, but other things are not. And here I have no idea why it's all broken. And it's even stranger because in the editor everything is fine, even though I'm in the editor on macOS and playing the exported build on macOS. So then I ignored it and thought I could just not release it for macOS. So then I exported it to Android and it installed fine, the icon works, touch controls work in the menu, but then same thing. I have no idea why this is happening, and I'm not given any pointers as to what is going on. This is also why I delisted the Linux download, as I couldn't test it, so maybe it might have had the same issue too. Now, I do have some guesses as to what is going on, and of course, the code wasn't clean, but it did work fine on Windows, and since I am using C# and it is part of the .NET platform, maybe Windows just works better with .NET stuff, or Godot is not the most stable with C#. Either way, I'm not really sure what's going on. I've decided to release the source code on GitHub under the mobile branch if you want to try and fix it, but other than that, I technically added it, but I never really got to experience it on Android, which is a bit of a letdown. Still nice that I managed to do it though.